Good morning. In this week's work, we focused on historical newspapers, particularly those that can be found in the Proquest database of historical newspapers. In utilizing the database, I utilized a rather narrow search. I looked at search criteria that included the keywords Hessians American Revolution, and Germans in the American Revolution. A second search of the term Rawl turned up no results, no useful results at all. However, when I added his given name of Johann, a plethora of articles did appear, making it rather interesting. One of them also included the opinions and thoughts on why the British were defeated in that particular location. What became increasingly evident, though, is that with the search term Hessians, there is a sustained pejorative interpretation of the word Hessian in American culture. This is a very derogatory interpretation that became increasingly evident during World War II and even beyond, associating itself with nationalist movements and the Nazi Party and Hitler in particular. In fact, some references to that even occur in recent politics. And again, that's unfortunate that that word has derived such a connotation throughout history. One of the efforts that I'm making in my work is to dispel some of those notions and provide a more accurate description. Celebrants of the American Revolution, military reenactors, appear throughout the database. Articles appear regarding commemorative events, usually accompanied by battle reenactments in which the Americans defeat the British and the German-speaking auxiliary troops, almost uniformly referred to as Hessians. As is typical, patience in search of the database is important. Some gems can be found. Here I found references to some primary sources previously unknown to myself. These were references to journals of German-speaking soldiers during the American Revolution. A previously known article to me by the very renowned and respected historian Dennis Showalter, who recently passed, a good friend of ours at Norwich University, was also amongst the collection. The database, interesting, allows for full text, partial text, and abstracts in your research. So some of that can be useful to kind of sort out what is relevant to your subject or not. One of the nice features is the ability to arrange your citation in the proper format. So you can go ahead and select that from the database and input that in. I do have a couple questions on how to properly for that, and I'll get to that. There's a cautionary tale in here. You'll note that I include 2 articles on the United States Marine Corps in my selections. They're of personal interest to me, being a retired Marine Corps. Anytime I see the word Marines, I tend to take a look at it. And while they're interesting and new information to me, they really don't have any value to my argument, my dissertation itself. So we can go down these bunny trails and get really tied up in information that we think is of interest, but we've got to sort through that and make sure that it's actually useful. In this particular case, it was suggested to Washington that he go ahead and utilize Marines in some battles that were further north in Canada, New York, Nova Scotia area, actually specifically. He rejected those suggestions. They did ultimately wind up in the establishment of the Marine Corps, who he would wind up using later at the battles of Trenton and Princeton. However, again, not germane to the argument, so not useful, but it is good to see so much a wide array of sources showing up in the search in the database. So you'll see those below. Generally, newspaper articles are not going to lead to great epiphanies in your research. However, you've got to be patient again and look for clues within that'll lead you to a greater understanding. Hope you find this information useful, and I look forward to discussion on this. Thank you.